Thanks for checking in the Pivoting to Web3 podcast. Go to pivotingtoweb3podcast.com to download and listen, or Web3 Game Plan to check out the videos. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Pivoting to Web3 podcast. And today we have Philip Blackett, who's an author, consultant, and entrepreneur who previously worked with FedEx, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, and Chick-fil-A. He got his Master's of Divinity from the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary and his MBA from Harvard Business School, and his bachelor degree majoring in political science and economics from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. So now Philip and I have been having some great conversation. I think you all are going to love hearing what he has to say. He's very impressive, has a great background, corporate, worked for the big guys, and he's going to share with us some of the information and insights that he has gleaned. He's written quite a few books, and it's in the business space, how you need to keep your job in this AI and what you need to do with your business with AI. So I'm going to turn it over to Philip. And Philip, say hello to your audience and mine and let them know who you are and how you got into the AI space. Hi, Philip.
Hello, Donna. Hello, everyone. It's I'm so glad to be here with you today. And so I'm very excited to talk about AI in particular because, you're right. I wrote a couple books on artificial intelligence, one called Future Proof: How to Adopt and Master Artificial Intelligence to Secure Your Job and Career. That's a book more so for our 9-to-5ers, our working professionals, career development, and that sort of thing. And then I also wrote another book called The Unfair Advantage: How Small Business Owners and Entrepreneurs Can Use Artificial Intelligence to Grow Sales, Outsmart the Competition, and Build Their Dream Businesses Without Breaking the Bank. Obviously, that book is more so for our small business owners and our entrepreneurs. But nevertheless, Donna, the main message in both of those books is essentially this: artificial intelligence is here to stay. It is not a fad. This is this generation's social media, this generation's smartphone, personal computer, automobile, television, airplane, and wheel and fire. So what do I mean by that? AI is a emerging technology that's only going to get better. And it's going to be here for the long term. But the question we ultimately have to ask ourselves, regardless of what capacity we serve in, is what are we essentially going to do about it? Are we going to put our heads in the sand like ostriches and think that it's a fad that will pass over time? Will we get fearful thinking that AI is going to take our jobs away, and it puts us in analysis paralysis where we don't do anything about it still? Or we say, listen, this can be an opportunity that serves us. Let's take the time to learn about it, figure out how we can adopt it into what we're already doing, and grow with AI to be more of a linchpin and a thought leader in our particular spaces and teams, so that not only are we securing our jobs, our careers and businesses, but we're becoming more productive and more profitable with AI going forward.
So, Philip, that was quite a bit of both sides of the coin. And I want to start with what I haven't talked about much on this podcast: those that are working, the 9-to-5, have jobs, scared to death. They're not sure what to believe. They're also part of the generation where they don't know what's true, what's false, or what is factual. Can you give us, from your perspective, a clear example on what somebody should be expecting once they decide, okay, I got to deal with this? And what do they do first? What should they expect in their next steps?
Right. So I think it's a great question, Donna. I think one thing that comes up top of mind is understand that this is not a situation where we should be waiting for Superman. What I mean by that is we should not be in expectation that somebody outside of ourselves is going to all of a sudden swoop in, save the day, and tell us, hey, we don't have to do anything from our end. We just got to sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. And what I mean by Superman, listen, Your manager or your boss or supervisor or team leader, he or she may know about AI, he or she may not. They may have it as a top priority, he or she may not. But we should not, especially in this day and age, be more lax, for lack of a better word, to wait on somebody else to tell us what to do with AI or what our next step should be. What it should be more so from our standpoint is, how do we become proactive to say, listen, let me learn about AI. Is there anything in my company that talks about artificial intelligence? Great. If so, I'll read up on it. I'll learn it. I'll listen to it. I'll watch it. But if not, then do not be afraid to look outside of your company to learn what AI is about. What books can you read? What podcasts can you listen to? What videos on YouTube or Google can you watch just to learn what AI is, just to begin with, and then take the next step to say, hey, now that I've gotten a overview of what artificial intelligence is and recognize that it's not as scary as I once thought it was, what is the next step? It's more so to say, hey, let me take a look at my job that I do every day. There's certain parts of your job that if you're honest with yourself, you say, hey, nobody else can or should be doing this part of my job outside of me. Maybe that's 20-25% of the job. But what do you do about that remaining 75 to 80% of your job duties? Maybe that those jobs to be done can be tasks that you can either outsource to another person or preferably to AI. And so just that exercise of being able to take inventory of what you do on a day-to-day basis, what things you absolutely have to do, and what things could you facilitate being done through AI is a significant exercise in itself. Because what will often happen, Donna, is you then move to the next step to say, hey, of the things that I can outsource to AI, let me experiment a little bit. Let me do some research. Let me try to figure out what tools can I implement to help make my job easier. Because once again, we're all on the same page here. AI is something, a tool to serve us, to help us be more productive. And if you can have an AI tool that works for what you're doing, that can get a certain task done, what usually would have taken you 2 hours to do, now it can get done in 15 minutes. Well, now you just saved yourself an hour and 45 minutes. And if you do that same job, let's say 5 days a week, you just saved yourself an hour and 45 minutes times 5 days a week. So almost 10 hours freed up for you to do more of what I would call your sphere of genius. What is it, things that you really want to do that's really helpful to move things forward for your team and your organization? But up to this point, you said, you know what, I just don't have enough time. If I had more time, I'd do more of what I want to do or should do, or no one else could do. Well, with AI, in this quick example, you freed up almost 10 hours a week, almost 40 hours a month to do more of that. Now we can bring more to the table for our team.
So when you say that, you can bring more to the table. So I'm quite sure some people are listening that haven't used AI. They've been thinking about it. They may be starting to play with it. What and where do you think it's best used? What are the best use cases when someone's an employee or working for a corporation or working for someone else? What are some of the best use cases that you've seen AI used for that really cemented the position of those that are working 9 to 5 and scared they're going to lose their jobs or get displaced? Are there any key positions or industries that you think will be more favorable? Or like some, it's going to be everywhere, it's everywhere?
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough to work on different type of functions in my short career so far, whether it's finance or marketing or sales or operations. And what I would say, Donna, is that AI can impact any of those areas as far as like what a business or a nonprofit does on a day-to-day basis. Artificial intelligence can help there. But just as a quick example, the thought is, communication is something that's important for all of us, regardless of function. One way or the other, we got to send that email. We got to send that, write that PowerPoint. We have to draft that memo and that sort. And oftentimes what's often very daunting for many of us is seeing a blank page. How do I start this? Like, how do I come up with, Shakespeare in like 10 minutes, right? And because of AI, for example, there's a number of different generative AI tools that one of the best case scenarios of what's helpful about it is it allows us to quickly come up with at least a first draft of whatever we're trying to communicate, whether it's an email or a presentation or a report or a social media post, right? And essentially what happens there is the thought of, can you share what you're trying to achieve in one of these AI tools? And then in a matter of seconds, it spits out its version of what you should write. And so now, as opposed to looking at a blank page and wondering, how do I start this?
Yeah.
15 seconds later, you now have a first draft to say, okay, now I got something to work with. I can take a sentence out here or add a word here or add some more personality or the corporate mission statement here. But now what would have taken you a significant amount more time to come up with, you're already working with the first draft within the first minute, polishing it up a little bit, and you can send that email out or that communication in a matter of minutes afterwards. Once again, saving time for you.
So a couple of questions, because this is also an education podcast. So for those who don't know, what are the different types of tools? You've been mentioning different types of tools. They've probably heard about the art and they've heard about, Midjourney and ChatGPT, but sounds like a lot of the tools. What are the different functions of the tools that are out there in case everybody's like, what is he really talking about? Is he talking about ChatGPT? But what are the tools? That's all I've heard of.
Oh, yeah. So one misconception we definitely want to debunk and demystify here is AI is way beyond ChatGPT.
Exactly.
ChatGPT is really like the tip top of the surface of the mountain called AI. And so, but I would also say, though, at the same time, Donna, we all have to start from somewhere. And so for us to even just start with ChatGPT to learn about it, get more proficient with it, get more comfortable, that would be significant in and of itself. Another tool that's related to it that I would share or put on the table for people to consider that's been helpful for me is perplexity.ai. So
I just heard about Perplexity just recently.
Yep. Perplexity.ai. What's helpful about that is if you've ever did something on ChatGPT, maybe to come up with some sort of blog posts or communication or that sort of thing, and you ever wonder to yourself, where are they getting this information
from? Where's the citation? Yeah. Where's the footnote?
Because lo and behold, I can't necessarily just copy and paste this into what I'm doing and just be like, ta-da! This is Philip's original, fresh off the head work. Especially they say, hey, how do I learn more about this, Philip? And now I'm trying to save face at the same time in real time when I don't know where to go outside of saying ChatGPT.
Right.
But perplexity.ai is helpful, Donna, because at the very least, it can come up with a similar work product as ChatGPT. And what you also note in the process of getting to that, it actually searches the web for certain information. So it's like adding Google to the mix. But what happens afterwards is when you try to copy and paste what comes out of there, what's often at the bottom are citations. So you'll have 10 plus sources of where Perplexity got its information from. So from a research standpoint, now when you're taking a look at it, you can say, hey, it got this piece of information from this website. Let me click on the link, learn more about it. Maybe there's some other things I can reference from it. So now you're no longer just saying, hey, let me just work with the first draft of what they gave me. Now you have a number of sources that you probably didn't know of before that you now can consult, take a look at, include in what you're doing. And now it's a much more robust work product to share or to publish or to provide for your team now.
Well, I like the fact that it had the citations, and I just recently learned about Perplexity. My question to you is, with Perplexity, does it still give you, if you ask a certain way, those scenarios that don't really exist, or because it can research and give citations in the footnotes and everything else, does it mean it really runs on facts? And you're not really dealing in the world of, did they make this up?
So no hallucination we're asking here. So yeah, I think that's part that we have to be mindful of when we're using tools like ChatGPT and Perplexity, is the possibility of it quote unquote hallucinating or coming up with things that are more fiction rather than fact.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more the reason why Perplexity is a more helpful tool, because at least you have a place where you can consult to verify. So you can at least have a place where you can go on a citation and say, hey, where is this coming from? Who's the source? Who's the institution? Is this a viable source? Should I include it, or should I look for something else? And at the same time, you can always edit the response and ask Perplexity to reiterate what it just, provided for you as well, if it's not to your liking.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. So we talked about those that are 9 to 5. They're working. They really need to move forward, investigate, learn, step it up, be creative, delegate, and get used to the AI and use it as a tool. It really enhances who you are, your thoughts, your research, and what you're trying to do. And definitely saves time, which could also mean increase in money. So as you increase your cash flow due to your productivity and saving time in the business world, as we shift to that conversation, what have you found to be the best benefits in the business world, and how do you think it's going to be looking going forward with the emerging trends? You've done a lot of work in the corporate world. You've done a lot of conversation and communication, research, writing, and what can you share with us as we move forward on the business side? What insights do you want to give us?
Yeah, so I think a similar place we can look at applying what we're just talking about with regards to AI with working professionals. We can have that same sort of exercise apply to business owners and entrepreneurs to how they run their businesses. Because one, first, recognize that AI is an opportunity to serve you. It's a tool that can help you become more productive and more profitable. It's not a threat unless you decide to not use it and then lean yourself up to be victim of your competition that actually takes on using it. It makes me think of, a quote that the CEO of NVIDIA once said. He said that it's not that AI is going to take your job. It's the person that knows AI who's going to take your job.
It's true.
And I would apply that same rationale to businesses. It's not AI that's going to put you out of business. It's the business owner or the team that's your competition that knows AI that can potentially put you out of business. But yet and still, the question that comes out of that still is the same question as before. What are you going to do about that? So in this same way, if you're a business owner looking at all the different functions of your business, marketing, content, sales, operations, finance, legal, the same sort of functions every business practically has. You do the same exercise as far as hey, let me focus on one particular area. Let's say marketing. Many businesses may not be doing as much marketing as they would like to because they just couldn't afford the whole team, the whole staff. They say, hey, there's so many different positions I have to fill, 8 to 10 positions. That's going to cost me tens of thousands of dollars a month. And I just don't have that. Now, you can look at certain AI tools that you can take a team of 8 to 10 people and have that same sort of productivity and slim that team down to essentially 2 or 3 people. And what that looks like when you're using AI tools is if you can meet out the same productivity with teams with bigger marketing, what does that now free you up to do? And so I think where that comes off down as far as the insights is thinking big picture out of the box to say, hey, how can AI help me do more with less? It's oftentimes something that a lot of businesses will usually say before layoffs, right? But more with less can be helpful here in the sense of how can we achieve the type of goals and strategies we have, even with a limited footprint or a smaller team? And the thing that can bridge the gap between where we're trying to achieve and where we are currently can be AI tools.
Is there a project that you can think of or that you'll be able to share? So a lot of the audience is new, and there's quite a few people that are jumping on board and early adopters. But what I'd like to try to share is, what does it look like for a company that's now using AI? If you could paint that picture on what they couldn't do and what they could do today. Are there any projects or any clients that you can really share with us the pros and cons, or this is what it was before and this is what we implemented and this is the outcome, so people can clearly delineate what's happening in the AI world versus generalities?
Perfect question. So I'll actually focus on something that you and I are very familiar with and we're actually doing right now. Podcasting.
Okay.
So podcasting is a relatively new medium that business owners and entrepreneurs can tap into that can essentially broaden their audience, increase their thought leadership or their reputation, and bring in more leads that can lead to more sales for their business.
Right.
However, the challenge is, Donna, and you and I probably can attest to this, hosting and managing a podcast show is not for the faint of heart. It's not something that is easy for people to just do very simply, which is often the case where if it's not something you can easily do, you're less likely to do it, right? And so there are AI tools out there that makes the whole podcast production process much easier. Where now it's a sense where if I were to play this out for a client, if you wanted to build your thought leadership, let's say, on automotives, we'll just say that as far as like thought leadership on automotives, what you could do is you can have somebody co-host or interview somebody. They come on Zoom, they record the Zoom interview. And I've seen a tool in particular that allows you to take the file you just recorded of your Zoom interview with your guests. You then upload that file to a particular AI tool that, and essentially in minutes, can transcribe the whole interview, can pick out which voice is whose, and you can label it as far as like, okay, this one is Philip and this one is Donna. And in the transcript is now saying that Philip said this, followed by Donna said that. It can come up with a table of contents. It can come up with chapters so that when you're actually watching it, you can segment or specify which one you want to listen to. They can upload it to podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It can even come up with viral video moments. So like 10 to 30 second, 60-second video moments that you can now share at the push of a button to your social media channels. So those are just a few of those benefits of that particular tool that I've been accustomed to or I've seen. But I think to myself, how long would it take for a team to manually do all that? To take a video interview and transcribe it, to then be able to come up with table of contents of what this actual interview talked about, to figure out which person said what. Like, this is coming from somebody that's actually physically manually transcribed interviews before, and knowing that that's like a 2 to 3 hour process, depending on how long the interview is.
And I hear you. I had an agency. I didn't go there. I did. That's a long time. I had an agency do that.
And so, and what the agency would do is they'll do that, and they'll probably cost you a good amount. Maybe
they're not doing it anymore.
Right. And so if they are doing it, they probably have AI tools of what I'm referencing. But to use that as an example, what it basically does is it not only saves time for you to actually produce a podcast and take it to market, but now in that sense, because it's much easier for people to do something like podcasting that they originally thought was going to be tougher to manage. Now you have an opportunity as a business to be able to get out into your local, regional, and national markets to showcase what you're about, to provide content that you can leverage and reuse across multiple different mediums like social media and blogs and corporate websites and email marketing as well. And you can also use that as a source to build a relationship with your listeners that can become prospects and then can become customers, and then hopefully raving fans as well.
Raving fans, yes. I've have that book and a few others that you've mentioned, and it's been really great speaking with you regarding AI and the impact and the trends that are emerging. And you are absolutely right, Philip. I happen to stumble on a few tools in the podcasting world that have been very helpful and saved a lot of time. And the AI being able to help me with my quote cards or the quote of the client, and LinkedIn or Twitter or the appropriate content and the keywords, for your YouTube and your channel and everything else. It's really been remarkable. I came into the podcast game. I launched September 5th. My trailer was the end of August. I wasn't sure what I was doing, how I was doing it. So I did get an agency because I wanted to make sure it was professional and I wanted to learn what a podcast was. I didn't know what a podcast was. That's not my generation. So it has been a learning experience, and Philip is absolutely right. Production, post-production, and everything else can take an awful lot of time. So with that said, I'm also very curious, what is it that you've learned or you share with your clients that you prepare them for with some of the challenges? I'm sure you talk to clients that want to implement AI. They're not sure which AI to choose. How do you assess that? And how do you prepare them for the challenges and the obstacles going forward in today's trends?
Yeah, so I think it's a great question, Donna. I think the first thing that comes up top of mind is to really set and manage expectations. So AI is something that's growing and evolving by the day. Right? It's one of the common analogies I come up with is when we buy a car. So let's take your favorite Mercedes ML SUV, right? The year now is 2024. Okay. They have 2024 Mercedes MLs out now. And
I think they're GLSs now.
Oh, GLSs. Yeah. I don't know. So I'm trying to educate myself. I apologize.
And I don't have one, okay? I don't have the GLS. I'm still in the ML that they discontinued.
I'm learning from you here. So let's go with the GLS. And what I would imagine come fourth quarter this year, like around October, Mercedes are going to start selling what type of GLSs?
Oh, you mean for the next year?
They'll start selling.
I don't know.
I
don't look at them, okay? Because everything I see, I want.
So they'll start selling the 2025 version of the GLS. But we're still in 2024, but they're already starting to prepare to sell next year's version, even in 2024. But that's over the course of a year, like a new iteration, a new model with certain features that are different from the previous year. Compare that to AI now, where you're not necessarily waiting till next year to see the new bells and whistles and new tweaks and updates that this tool in particular may have made. You're seeing version upgrades by the week, by the month.
Oh, okay. That's true.
And so what happens?
Moving fast.
It's moving much faster than we can as humans. And so it's very easily a potential cause for overwhelm. And so what I like to do with my clients, first off, is manage expectations and say, hey, listen, the tools I tell you today may differ this time next month. What we have to understand is we have to have a growth mindset with regards to AI. Like, we're going to learn this, we're going to adapt to it, because these tools are competing amongst each other. And so what you were paying for one tool is now going to be less of a price next month, probably, and have 5 or 6 more features you didn't ask for, because they're constantly competing. But the only constant in this case, Donna, is change. And it's helpful for people to understand that this is going to be a lot of changes, a lot of experimentation that we'll be doing, that we have to have the right mindset, the right attitude, that we're going to learn from it, try new things to find what works. And then what works, we'll work with until we find something better. But I think that's probably the first thing I usually help my clients on with regards to AI.
Have we ran into any legal challenges or issues that have come up already with AI, or what is the mindset of most of the clients that you've worked with? Has there really been any intersections where there was tension between the people and process of the organization and then bringing in the AI? Anything you can share from that culture standpoint, or that ethics bias standpoint? Was there any tension that you could see?
So I would say that for sure. I think because this is like the wild, wild west again, we're learning as we go. And I think from a legal and regulatory side as well, they're learning as well too, as far as how to best manage this. But I think in terms of businesses, I think one thing that comes at top of mind is thinking about how do you go about AI with regards to the use of video and audio, in terms of, you have some tools out here that can clone your voice, Donna. We have some tools out here that can clone your image and video. One of the things I often like to kid around with other people I've talked to is, how do you know that you're actually talking to the real Philip right now?
How do I know? Well, I had a conversation with you prior, so I'm sure glad that I ain't talking to a video. You wouldn't be here. I have never gotten that far yet. I don't think I'm going to those channels that, they produce it with AI, and a lot of them look very realistic. It makes me nervous because I'm wondering about that myself. Here I come in the podcast, and now somebody going to be taping my voice and duplicating it? I don't think so. I hope not.
So I think that's part of what I'm sharing here, is that, I've definitely seen tools that, and I've used, that can clone my voice, that can clone my video, where basically I feed it a script to read, and it'll take my whole image and it'll speak that whole script in a video that I can use. But I think the ethics of it, yeah, absolutely, Donna, you hit on it, where consent and privacy concerns definitely come up top of mind. That from a branding standpoint, we have to really be vigilant on how we go about using some of these tools, especially if it's presenting something that's realistic but didn't actually happen.
Right, exactly.
It's not saying that we can't do that. We just have to be very mindful of what's involved and whether or not we need to put any sort of disclaimers or messaging behind it or in front of it, to make sure we're not potentially misleading people in any shape or form.
Yeah, YouTube wants you to check off a couple of boxes if you're doing that. I'm curious, do you have that on your laptop or something you can access now? That clone and that video that you did of yourself?
Let's
see. Share screen? I would love to see that.
Sure.
And I think it'd be nice to see on YouTube because I'm sure going to put it out there.
No problem.
Let me pause this for a minute. Is that okay with you?
Of course.
I think that'd be pretty cool. You all hold on a moment. Okay, so what we have now, I can't believe this, but we have it on the screen here, and you have to look at YouTube. And this particular video from Pivoting to Web3 podcast with Philip, and he is now have on the screen. This is I'm scared. This is AI. Tell us what we got on the screen. What's going on, and let it play. Let's hear its voice.
Let me introduce you to my friend AI Philip.
Wow.
Hey there. My name is Philip Blackett, and I would love to be considered as a guest for your podcast show. When I was younger, my grandmother gave me the nickname the Special Package, for she believed I had all the special gifts God could give me wrapped up in one person. I believe I can share what I have within for the benefit of your audience. I can talk about business, relationships, politics, entrepreneurship, religion, money, inspiration, and motivation. I am an author, speaker, consultant, and entrepreneur. I have written and self-published 7 books, ranging from artificial intelligence, politics, and how to respectfully disagree with those who think, believe, and vote differently from you. I have my own audio and video setup at home, so I can record episodes virtually with you. I can share with you my one-pager that includes more background information on myself, as well as 10 story ideas.
This is AI?
That you can consider us having a conversation about on your podcast for the benefit of your audience. If I potentially am a good fit for your show, let me know, and we can discuss next steps towards having a conversation on your show that your audience will enjoy. Thank you, and I will talk to you soon, my friend.
Wow. The tone, the pitch, the eyes, they all look just like you.
Yep.
I would have never known that wasn't you.
Especially if it's the first time you're seeing it. Absolutely.
Oh, this is scary. I don't know. Makes me a little bit nervous here, especially being a podcast, and I'm out here now. Okay, voice, image, everything is out here. So how did you do that? How long did it take? Can we talk about that just a little bit? We're running out of time.
Sure. So
tell everybody how you did that, the prompt and everything else. And we can tell the tool if you want. Tell us what you want to share.
I was going to start with the tool. Like the tool is HeyGen, HeyGen. And essentially what that does is it allows you to send a short snippet of video of yourself, preferably one that has like pauses in your speech, maybe some different tonality. So it can help model it as realistic as possible. And what it will do is it can come up with an instant avatar. So basically, like, I can get you one just as quickly as possible within like an hour that you can start to use. That'll use all of Donna's like mannerisms and talks and that sort. Or you can do a more professional avatar, which takes a little bit more time. It's an upgrade in cost, but they try to make it even that much more realistic. And so essentially what happens there is that when you have your avatar, you can essentially open up a video project where you can feed it what script you want it to essentially speak about or talk of, push the button, and after a few minutes, what we just experienced just now is essentially what anybody could do from that standpoint, where they can actually see themselves talk, but it wasn't really them.
So this is really not good for some people, because you can already get tripped up, or what we used to say in the old days, you can get caught up. It's something that you had nothing to do with. So now you've got AI, and this can match your voice, it can match your eyes, it can do everything. So what about security? What about ethics? What's happening with that? Or we don't know that yet.
Well,
how can you tell it's AI?
The most common thing they'll do in these type of instances is they make sure that you have to sign off on, this is my voice, this is me, this is Philip, and I give consent for this tool to use my voice or use my image. Even literally recording a video, you saying that, like the real version of you. And I think that's really important because, like what it basically does is that it's not going to make an action towards doing this unless you give it permission to. And so I think that's really what's important, that these tools take security very seriously, and they try to come up with the right standards and safeguards in place to make sure that if you do use this tool, you're doing it for yourself and you're doing it the right way.
I'm an old girl from Brooklyn, okay? I hear what you're saying. I'm watching what you're saying. But you got the world out there and you saying, Well, you just make sure you sign on. Okay, so we won't go there. So, what are your concerns? What are your concerns? And then we'll end on what is your wish list. And thank you so much for bringing that up, sharing the information, sharing your screen, taking the time. I am like shocked at what I'm seeing. It looked just like you.
Yep. So I think my biggest concern is the same concern I would have with any technology, whether it's a car or a plane or social media, that sort of thing. Like, people can use these new technologies for good, and they can also use it for evil. It just depends on the person behind the wheel or the person using it. It's a thing I often say, Donna, is like, hey, if I go to my kitchen and I pull out my drawer a butter knife, in my hand, it's helpful for me to put butter and strawberry jelly on my toast in the morning for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
But that same butter knife to somebody else in somebody else's hands can be wielded as a weapon that can inflict serious harm on somebody or worse. But it's still the same butter knife. It just depends on whose hand is it in. And so I think the concern I have with AI is similar to that, whether it's somebody behind the wheel or somebody in the comments on Twitter or somebody creating an AI video of themselves or somebody else. You know, having people with the right intentions doing the right things with regards to AI is supremely important as we become more and more immersed in what AI is looking to be in our world today.
And on that note, I'd like to thank you for being a guest on Pivoting to Web3 podcast. We're shaping the world together. And how can people reach out and talk to you or connect with you or buy your books? What else would you like to share?
Absolutely. So would love for anyone that's interested in my books, Future Proof or The Unfair Advantage with regards to artificial intelligence, to head on over to Amazon.com and you can look up those books. Primarily just looking up my name, Philip Blackett, Philip Blackett. You can also touch base with me on my website, dreambusinessmakeover.com, or look me up on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Just look up my name, Philip Blackett.
Philip, you the real Philip right here. I'm glad you're here with me. I'm glad you showed me who the avatar you have, and I would have never believed it if somebody told me it would look almost exactly like you, sound like you, blink their eyes like you, have the color of your eyes there too, the white of your eyes, the non-white, whatever. It's picking up everything. And thank you so much. You guys are going to be excited. Make sure that you go over to YouTube, web3gameplan.com, and check out this episode. It's going to be episode that's going to be coming to you soon. And thank you so much for sharing everything and being here and letting us serve. We're shaping tomorrow together. Good evening, good morning, and good day. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thanks for checking in the Pivoting to Web3 podcast. Go to pivotingtoweb3podcast.com to download and listen, or Web3 Game Plan to check out the videos. Thank you. We're shaping tomorrow together.